Welcome to Flame Central Game Day, brought to you by Divine Fog Realty. Love, family, and team. DJ Jordan, Pat Kelly, Rhett McGibbon here. Glad to be back with you for another week of Liberty Flames football. Last week, the highest output offensively for LU against Delaware, a first-year FBS team. This week, Missouri State comes to town, another first-year FBS team. Is this, though, DJ, the perfect trap game? You get feeling good about yourself, you put up your season high in points, and all of a sudden you got a team that comes in that's played some of the top CUSA teams pretty closely.
Well, Liberty's playing very well. The federal government is shut down right now, but the Liberty offense is open, and they are playing very, very well. You can do a lot of things when you have confidence like that. You can get a big head, or you can stay humble. I like what Coach Chadwell has done with this team. You go on a 4-game losing streak and then come back, and you're on a roll. I don't see them backtracking or getting tripped up in this game.
The tune has changed since we've seen him last. Pat, how are you feeling?
I agree with DJ completely. You know, I would say this would be vintage trap game situation. However, your backs are against the wall. You've got to win out the rest of the year if you want to get, to this conference championship. So ordinarily, yep, it's a trap game. It's a former FCS team, but I don't think, given the situation and the fact that, hey, you've got to run the table to get to the CUSA championship, I think they're in a good spot for today.
There's so much to play for still.
Yeah, there is. Let's get to that here. Taking a look at the CUSA standings as it currently sits. Pat, I feel like we need to get you a fisherman's friend. You know those throat lozenges? You ever heard of those? We'll talk about those in a minute. Anyways, when you look at the conference standings here, I'm going to spit out a lot of stuff. Flames still very much in the thick of it. Jacksonville State still has Kennesaw State and Western Kentucky to go. Kennesaw State, of note, still has Jacksonville State and Liberty to go. They do have Missouri State, which could play spoiler. Liberty, the big name left is Kennesaw State, even though FIU did beat Western Kentucky and has played some teams closely. And then Western Kentucky, a 1-point win over Louisiana Tech recently, and then Middle Tennessee, and then Jacksonville State, who is still undefeated. So lots to be played for when you look at this. There's still a path for multiple teams to make it to the Conference USA Championship game.
Yeah, there really is. And I could certainly see some chaos the next couple weeks here. And, one thing, Jacksonville State actually plays UTEP today. At UTEP, that's a tough place to play. You're kind of in that valley. You're traveling a little bit across the country. So that's a sneaky game that I wouldn't say to take your eye off of, despite the fact that they've got a bigger one next week.
Well, they just need Liberty needs 18 games or 18 days in between each game to prepare. They can look at the schedule for next year and try to do that because it gave them a lot of time to scheme up and get ready. And I'm sure the coaches even looked ahead to Missouri State during that bye week.
We said the Bears could play spoiler. Let's take a look at the schedule that has happened so far on the season for them. Started off against USC. That was a tough loss. But then when you get into the thick of it, a lot of one-possession games, 5 to be exact. Marshall, a 1-point difference. Then you take on Western Kentucky, only lose by 5 in that one. You beat Middle Tennessee by 2. This is a team that has been in the thick of it for a large portion of their games. And let's already head to what they did last week, taking on FIU. Again, another one-possession game. Clark with 2 touchdowns. Shamari Lawrence, a little revenge game. He's a big fella. I'm looking forward to seeing him play today. Carried the rock 14 times, 105 yards with 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, guys, this offense was really clicking the entire night. They ran for over 200 yards. They had their best game all year on 3rd down. They were able to stay on the field. From a defensive standpoint, they had their most tackles for loss and their most quarterback hurries. So they were constantly putting that FIU offense kind of on their back heels.
We'll talk about Shamari Lawrence a little bit later, but I'm a big fan of his. He's a big running back who was able, like you said, to get revenge against FIU. Last week, he was averaging 5.6 yards per carry. It's hard to lose a game when you are running that well. And they're also a very physical team. This game probably was going to be won or lost at the line of scrimmage. Their defensive line is very good, too. So it'll be a great game today to see if they can continue the momentum from last week.
Yeah, you saw Lawrence there just putting out the stiff arms left and right. It's great. It's going to be fun to watch. He is an absolute unit. On the other side, talking about running back play for the Flames last week, it was the same story. Dickens, what a game by him. And Liberty has found themselves well in the portable now multiple times. You talk about Quentin Cooley coming from Wake Forest. Didn't have a lot of tape on him in a lot of sense. He comes in as one of the Flames' all-time greats at running back. And now Dickens, coming in from Georgia Tech, has really broken out this season and has cemented himself as the top running back on this team.
When we talked at the beginning of the year, we thought that he may be a pretty special talent when you look at some of the tape back from Georgia Tech and where he came before, and he has delivered. It's taken him a while to get to this point, but I almost want to compare him to a Rashad Jennings, believe it or not.
Okay.
I know that may be blasphemous to some people, but he's very quick. He's got great balance, as you see, and he's making defenders miss.
I think you like it because he wears the same number that Rashad wore. But, I think Dickens is actually faster than Rashad was. But I agree. You're right. They both have that lateral quickness. They do a really good job. It was amazing to see him last week average 9.9 yards per carry. Just from a statistical standpoint, though, he's the number 3 rusher in Conference USA and number 2 in touchdowns with 8.
Is he the MVP so far this season for Liberty?
It's hard to argue against that. I mean, you could say the Liberty's secondary until last week was kind of the MVP, but there's no doubt about it. He really stepped up, and I would say he's the MVP.
A lot of times when you look at teams and offensive schematics, you talk so much about quarterback. But with this Liberty offense, does it really focus around running backs? Like, is that the key to make this machine go?
Well, historically, yes. If you look at a Jamie Chadwell team, even going back to Coastal Carolina, they always had very high-performing rushing teams. And if you go 2 years ago, their Fiesta Bowl year, they averaged 293 yards per game, leading the entire country. And so I think you're starting to see them get back to where they were before and focusing on the run game.
All right, Pat, what was different for the O-line last week? It was their best performance by far on the year. Was it something that clicked? Did they just overpower the opposition? Can you put your finger on it?
I should say this. I think the 18 days off helped. Number one, helps you get healthy. Number two, helps you scheme for that team. I think that's additional preparation time. And then on top of that, they came out and they were just very physical. There were several runs where the backs weren't getting touched until 5, 6, 7 yards down the field. So being able to get that push against the D-line up front, I think that's what made the difference for them.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think there's 2 things that really excite an offensive lineman: a buffet restaurant and also a offensive coordinator who commits to the run, and that's what they did last week. And I would say for Willie Corn this week, commit to the run. If they are getting 4-5 yards per carry, it changes the dynamic of the entire game. It keeps the defense off the field so that they can rest. It also helps your quarterback Vasco, who struggled with injuries and been inconsistent before. So got to run the rock today.
Yeah, Jamie Chadwell hoping for a similar performance from the O-line this week, and he met up with Annette Corey earlier today.
Well, Coach, with the success that Evan Dickens saw last week, how do you guys sustain that dominance on the ground today?
Well, we got to do a good job of maintaining blocks up front. This is going to be a big challenge for us. Missouri State's defense, they do a fantastic job. So we got to be a little creative how we get him the ball, try to get him on the perimeter more. But we challenge our guys. Hey, this is what we got to do. You got to go execute it.
Facing a quarterback like Jacob Clark, with the amount of college football he's played, with the way he distributes the football, what's important for your defense?
I think we got to do a great job of trying to disguise. He's obviously seen a lot of stuff trying to disguise, but if we can affect him, it might not be sacks, but try to move him off his platform. And if he has to throw under duress, then you like your chances of being successful. So we got to do a really good job of trying to confuse him, harass him a little bit where he's not comfortable.
Best of luck today, Coach.
Thank you.
Every sack is a sack to give back this season. Food Lion Feeds will donate 1,000 meals to a neighbor in need for each Liberty sack this season. So far on the year, Liberty with 11 sacks for 62 yards lost. And you talk about O-line loving a buffet. I could go for some of that buffet right about now. That looks good. Well, second week in a row that Liberty has faced a first-year FBS team, and trying to figure out exactly who these Missouri State Bears are, we are going to go head up to the booth with Matt Warner and Joe Yock.
Yeah, appreciate it, Rhett. A lot of people not real familiar with Missouri State on the outside, saying, first-year FBS, first-year Conference USA, it'll take them a while to get up to speed. Hasn't been the case, Joe. As Rhett said, in the mix for this conference race. What stands out to you when you look at their success this season?
Yeah, I think that this Missouri State football team isn't a Pat Kelly team. Okay, it's not going to be sleek and athletic, right?
All right.
This is more of a Rhett McGibbon team. This is a big bear, a big grizzly who wants to maul you. Okay,
I see it. Yeah.
So what you see from this team is that they play the Missouri Valley Conference. They're physical, they're tough, they have an experienced quarterback, they've got a really good running back, and then defensively more than anything, they've created a lot of turnovers, and that has helped them very much. So when you can be balanced in that way, where you can throw the ball, run the ball, defensively create those turnovers, it's going to make that transition a lot easier. And you're coming from an FCS program that had a North Dakota State in it who had won a national championship. So they're used to playing against high-level competition.
Yeah, Jamie Chadwell said this week, this team looks like they were built for the Missouri Valley Football Conference. Normally, you would say, oh, that's kind of a slight. You're right. Not in this sense. They are the SEC of the FCS. North Dakota State, South Dakota State, some great programs there, and they've made the transition, Rhett, look really easy in their first year here in Conference USA.
Yeah, good stuff, guys. I know Joe knows a lot about being Bear. Good to know he knows a lot about the Bears as well.
Yak is crazy.
Yeah, he is. When you look at this group, they talk about the physicality of this team. How do you feel like Liberty matches up in that area?
I think they match up okay, just from the standpoint of this offensive line for Missouri State has struggled this year, and I think it's a chance for Liberty's defensive line to kind of get things together. I think on the back half, it's going to be a really interesting matchup because they're littered with talent. Missouri State is at the receiver position. They've got 4 guys that average almost 50 receiving yards per game, so they spread the ball around, and that's tough to defend because you don't just have to key in on one guy. Like when teams played Liberty and you had your AGG, you knew that he was going to be the guy, and he was still tough to stop. Well, this team can get the ball to 5 different guys. So I think the really interesting matchup today is going to be the secondary for Liberty.
I still look at the line of scrimmage. They are a physical team. Their defensive line is very, very good, and you're going to be won or lost there. I think for Liberty's defense, they've got to get more pressure on Clark today. They have 11 sacks on the season, and I think they can do even better with C.J. Brazil and that crew.
All right, let's turn our attention now to our Ortho Virginia Field Pass, where we speak on Brylan Green. And originally we had Brylan coming in that was going to speak to us. Unfortunately, that was unable to happen. But Brylan Green, coming off of injury, has looked more like his old self in the sense that flying around the field, a ball hawk kind of player that you feel is always in the mix to be able to get an interception. And this in his senior season, he's been a key cog in the secondary.
He certainly has, and I think this being his second game back, you're going to see continued improvement here. It takes a little while to get your game legs back underneath you after you haven't played for a little while, and I think they're going to certainly need him to be that field general, that communicator out there. 1, because you're missing Joe Carter, and 2, because of the talent that this receiving corps has for Missouri State.
And I'll add to that point, too, the defensive backfield is going to have a tough day, really keying on different players. If you look at Missouri State's offense, they have 6 players with 2 touchdown receptions or more. And so you're talking about a tight end. You're talking about a running back who also comes out of the backfield and catches touchdowns. So you can't really key on any one person.
As we turn our attention now to the Bears, Luke Dash. And, Pat, you are high on this young man.
I really am because, if you watch his film, they move him all around the field. I think they're going to motion him a lot. I think they're just going to try and find ways to scheme up to get him the ball, and they should because he's a dynamic playmaker out of New Orleans. Shout out to the hometown team there. I'm excited to watch his game. He also returns kicks. I love those guys that play receiver and return kicks. It's going to be interesting to see how they get him the ball today.
Yeah, he's a guy with 2 first names. Dash is his first, and Luke is his last name.
I was just thinking, I think I just messed that up, and I surely did.
But he's a 5'8", very dynamic, energetic wide receiver. Speaking of comparisons, he reminds me of Demario Douglas a little bit in his game. He's averaging 13.6 yards per reception, so he's a big play guy.
Like other people with 2 first names, Ricky Bobby, I think he just wants to go fast.
I hear you there. Here's our scouting report presented by Chris White Law. We take a look at Jacob Clark. He's running here, but I would assume he's more of a pocket presence kind of guy.
Yeah, I think you're right. He can certainly run to keep plays alive, but it's not the number one thing he wants to do. He'll keep his eyes down the field so that he can extend plays, but he's not going to try and beat you with his legs. He throws a great ball. This offense is fun to watch. Typically likes the ball to come out pretty quickly. They've got some pretty good schemes where they'll throw some double moves in there as well, but love to watch him throw the football.
He unfortunately had one injury that knocked him out of one game this year, but overall he's been healthy. He's a tall 6'5", kind of prototypical quarterback who would rather pass than run, but he has great vision of the field as well. He started his career in the Big Ten at Minnesota, so he's got some talent.
Yeah, the former Gopher does have 8 interceptions on the season. How big, I know it's huge, but when you look at Liberty, I feel like the secondary started to create a lot of turnovers lately. His care for the football today, how imperative will that will that be?
It's paramount, and I was just going to say that he is a guy that will give you the ball. I don't want to say he panics under pressure, but he does start to get happy feet a little bit. I think we could see some balls sail on him today, especially with how good this Liberty secondary is. It's all going to come down to, again, to that trench warfare between offensive line for Missouri State, defensive line for Liberty.
On the other side, Ethan Vasco has had his struggles earlier in the year. Another member of the Flames that has not recently, but came off of injury, had to sit out a game and a bit. And last week against Delaware, by far his best game as a Flame.
Well, a lot of pressure was not on him because they were running the ball so well. And so that's going to really help him today, and I really hope Korn focuses on the run first. He's averaging about 200 yards passing per game, but his percentage is right around 60%. He's got to get that up to make sure that he's connecting with his receivers. 5 interceptions on the season. You can't have an interception today. You can't have a turnover.
You look at the numbers here. Season average on the left. Last game against Delaware on the right. Fewer pass attempts against Delaware, but you have more yardage, a higher completion percentage, and 2 touchdowns. Again, this is one of those questions where, was it the 18 days off? Was it the run game being so terrific? Or did Ethan Vasco finally kind of click into this offense? Because you look at like a former guy, Grayson McCall, that played for Chadwell at Coastal Carolina. I wouldn't necessarily say he's an NFL talent, but he is a player that really understood the offense at hand. Did those 18 days off allow Vasco to really get into the playbook and figure some things out?
I mean, is there an option for all the above? Because I do think they all build off of one another. Number one,
I do homeschooling. I don't like to put that as an option typically, but I'll give it to you here.
It's critical. Number one, you get to rest in those 18 days. Number two, you get to scheme a little bit. But similar to what you were just saying, when you've got to force an extra hat in the box and you've got ideal matchups on the outside, it makes your life a whole lot easier. So when they can't drop 6, 7, 8 in coverage, it's going to make your life easier as a quarterback to find those holes and to get it to your receivers.
And don't forget, this is his first year. He's still, getting into this offense. And again, the rushing game will help him tremendously. And there's nothing wrong with being a game manager. Often quarterbacks will hear that about themselves, and they'll feel that is a disrespect or a slight or whatever. Manage the game well. Be okay with the dump down to the running back, to the tight end. You don't have to have a big 50-yard play every single play.
Ryan Beard is going to try to keep him off script. He is standing by with Annette Corey.
All right, Coach, facing an offense like Liberty that's so explosive both on the ground and through the air, how do you play disciplined football against a group like that?
Yeah, you got to have great eye control. You got to be in the right spots, make sure we're plus numbers when we can be, and make the one-on-one plays. That's what's going to be critical today.
Your team's 3-1 on the road. Is it a mindset for you guys walking to other stadiums?
Yeah, absolutely. We trust our processes. We have a game that travels. We'll do what needs to be done.
Thank you for the time, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, taking a look. Bears in the air, and they just don't care. The passing game from Missouri State, similar to that of Delaware a week ago. This is a program that is in the tops of CUSA in multiple categories when it comes to their air attack.
It is. It's a quick passing game primarily. Get the ball out very quickly. They throw about 51% of the time, run 49%. But yeah, this is an offense. It's very timing based. I think if Liberty's going to have some success, you want to knock guys off of routes and kind of disrupt that timing a little bit today.
That's why it's so important for the defense to put pressure on Clark today. Liberty they're towards the latter part of the conference in sacks. They've got a ways to catch up. They should be getting around 2 to 3, and you want to see to get pressure on him today because he will cough it up.
Here's a look at Clark just spraying it around. Another aspect that DJ you touched on earlier is just the fact that this is a Missouri State team that's not just wide receiver one gets the ball all the time. There is a plethora of receivers, and including the running back, that are getting touches. And for the secondary, for Liberty secondary today, I don't feel like you can isolate just on one guy and say, if we shut him down, the air game's gone.
No, you certainly can't. Like we said earlier, with so many guys that have caught passes, you've got basically your leading receivers have 25 catches, 24, 20, and 21. So it's guys that can do it, that can beat you. I'm really excited to watch really this entire unit today. It's going to be really interesting. I think Liberty's going to have to focus on Dash Luke and where they motion him, put him around. But every other guy can beat you.
Here's a look at the top 4 receivers so far on the season for them. I mentioned that there are 8 guys. You look at Robinson on your right. He had 2 touchdowns in the last game against FIU. You move on to the next grouping of 4, and the numbers don't drop off all that much. You look at the touchdowns, like everybody is getting their touch in pay dirt.
Yeah, Clark has also been sacked 26 times, which is very, very high. And so Liberty's strategy has to get to him before he can distribute the ball to these guys because they're all playmakers.
Yeah, it's going to be how do you go against shutting down a system where you know it's not going to be just their main two receivers? Like, how do you cover all the options? Because you're thinking, again, tight end. They might throw it to Lawrence out of the backfield. Like, what kind of system are you going to see today from LU defensively?
I'm really curious to see if they're going to do a zone or man-to-man or switch things up. But it has to start first and foremost with pressure on Clark. Mike Tyson famously said everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And you have to be in his face. He gets sacked a lot, and he coughs the ball up a lot. And so but you got to have to play also disciplined defense. Everybody has to trust where they are on the field. Your safety has to trust your cornerbacks are going to be where they're going to be. When you're back in pass coverage, your linebackers also have to cover well as well.
Yeah, I really don't like when teams give free access, soft zone coverage. You saw Liberty really eat New Mexico State apart on that final drive. Drove 92 yards for a touchdown. They played soft zone coverage until past midfield. I don't think that's kind of the winning formula. I prefer to see get up in the receiver's face, get hands on, make them win in one-on-one. If you trust your secondary, I think that's a decent plan. But again, they've got 4 guys to get the ball to. It only takes 1 guy missing, and then that plan can kind of explode. So I would like to see some press coverage out there today.
All right, so does Liberty have the athletes to do what you want to see?
I think they do.
They absolutely do.
Especially
with Brylan Green coming back. I think that gives you another weapon kind of in your arsenal. I certainly think that they can do a good job.
All right, let's move now to our impact players presented by Freedom Heating and Air. We'll start with the running back, Shamari Lawrence. We mentioned this guy is 6 foot, 210 pounds of Florida beef. He will run you over.
He's actually was born in Jamaica, and so they got a lot of fast guys who come out of the country of Jamaica, and you see this here. Even though he's so big, but he has 550 yards on the year. He's averaging 4.9 yards per carry, and by the way, no fumbles. That's what I love the most as a fellow running back. I got much respect for him in that arena.
As we continue on, Mitchell Toney, defensive lineman, heat seeker in the backfield. Only a sophomore on this group. It's one of those players where you feel bad for the G5 teams now, but I feel like you better start coughing up your NIL money because people are going to come sniffing around. He's a difference maker on that line.
Guys, how blessed are we to have so many players with 2 first names to kick things off? I mean, I don't know what to do with my hands. Yeah. The sack leader on their team, 6'2", 275. I equate him to a bowling ball. Had a sack against USC, a sack against Marshall, a half sack last week. He really plugs the middle, and the thing is, even if he's not getting home, he can wreak havoc for Liberty today because they want to win on first down.
You go back 2 months ago, the conversation was who was going to be the top wide receiver this year for the Flames. Dante Lee Jr. has filled that role.
Yeah, we talked about that New Mexico State game where he really kind of emerged onto the scene, made his name, and proved to his quarterback that he can trust him. A quarterback loves nothing more than a guy that he knows he can trust.
11 receptions in his last 2 games. That's 1 less than the 6 previous games, DJ.
Yeah, 19 yards per catch average, which is the 2nd highest in the entire conference. Much respect there.
Here's Damon Harmon. You talk about that secondary, and you want to see press coverage. Harmon, physically 6 foot, big body guy. Again, coming from the Oklahoma, you feel like he's capable of doing that. And he's started to really come into his own here the last few games.
Yeah, he has. He's certainly got the talent. Former 4-star. He's going to have to show up today if Liberty wants to put on a good product on the field.
And he actually got playing time at Oklahoma when they were in the Big 12. So he's got a little bit of talent. Didn't just play that much in 2024, but he's back and he's healthy and he's a playmaker.
Yeah, a lot of fun to watch. Nice play by him there. You saw on the highlights in the flat. Just a good read to stick with his man and was able to shut it down. Moving now to our keys to the game. We're going to start with our visitors first. Pat, talk to me about Missouri State.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about these receivers and the weapons that they've got. Well, I think they can do a really good job today if they keep Clark clean. When he is clean, it is a beaut, Clark, if we're going to throw a movie reference in there. But when he's pressured, he will give the ball away. They're 131st in the country out of 136 teams in terms of sacks. So they do allow pressure to get home. If they can keep him clean, he will distribute the ball today and could kind of cause some problems for Liberty's defense. Second key would be you've got to get Liberty off schedule. When they win early downs, it opens up their entire playbook. We saw last week their average distance to gain a first down on 3rd down was less than 5 yards. And that's a winning recipe because for Coach Willie Korn, that opens up the entire playbook. So if Missouri State can plug the run, if they can force them into 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, that's going to go a long way for getting their defense off of the field. And then the final would be, you've got to win your one-on-one matchups. I think that there's going to come a point in this game where they're going to try and stop Liberty in the run game, so they're going to have to put an extra hat in the box. So you're going to be singled up. You're going to be on an island out there. Those the corners, they've got to be able to step up and make those plays to get their defense off the field and get that high-flying offense back on the field.
All right, DJ, walk us through the Flames.
Yeah, for Liberty, I think first and foremost, I kind of alluded to this earlier on, but they have to run the rock today. Korn has to commit to the run early and often. I think that'll help the rest of the team, not only on offense but on defense. You give the defense some time to rest as well. In the games that they have won this year, they have averaged 187 yards per game on the ground. And that's done a lot for the rest of the team. The second thing for today for Liberty is they need to limit turnovers. In the 4 games that they have won, they have a combined 3 turnovers. In the games that they have lost, they have a combined 9 turnovers. So Vasco has to take care of the rock today. You got to make sure that there's no fumbles because that's going to change the entire dynamic of the game. And then last but not least is the defense has to put pressure on Clark. He's a talent. He's a 6'5", prototypical quarterback. If you give him all day, he will toast you all day. So that defensive line, especially C.J. Brazil and the rest of them, you don't have Joe Carter, unfortunately, but there's other talent that you need to be able to put the pressure on him, and you need to be able to do it with 4 down linemen. You don't want to be blitzing every single play because you're going to leave gaps open for a lot of these wide receivers in the intermediate game.
Last 2 seasons, Flames have struggled to get pressure with only 4 down linemen, as you said. Can they do it today?
You got to. That's the only way to win, in my opinion.
Twists and stunts? Is that the
Twists and stunts? There you go.
Right, twists and stunts.
Exotic.
To that point, this Missouri State offense has 30 explosive passing plays, more than 20 yards this year. That's top 45 in the country. So, again, they are good for some chunk plays. Liberty's got to shut that down if they're going to obviously come out of here with
So I got to press you on that, Pat. They have the ability for explosive plays, but you want the corners to play up on them. Do you think the coaches are going to play a little bit more safer and give them space?
I think if you trust your guys and you trust your scheme and they go out there and execute like they've done all year long, you don't have anything to worry about. Sure, they've got guys on scholarship too, so they're going to make some plays. But if I'm coaching, I trust my guys and what they've put on the field 10 times out of 10 over the course of a game.
All right, it's all going to go down top of the hour. That's all for Flame Central Game Day. Thank you so much for joining us. Stick around after the final whistle and join us on Liberty Flames social media for the full post-game show, including first thoughts from Jamie Chadwell. Flames taking on the Bears, 1 p.m. on ESPN+. Matt Warner and Joe Yock with the call.